So Chapter 3 reports on consultations in regions other than Quebec. So on January 22nd, there was a consultation in the region of Halifax. On February 8th, there was another one in Saskatoon. March 8th, British Columbia. March 12th and 13th, Manitoba. March 27th, the Quebec region here in Wendake. This will be presented more specifically in another section. On April 11th and 12th, there were two consultations in the region of Ontario, one in Thunder Bay and one in Kenora. And on April 16th, the Alberta region was consulted. And we will also see in Chapter 3 the recurring themes, as well as the report on the level of participation in these consultations. So I would add that there were not many participants who were at these consultations throughout Canada. And also we will see that the recurring themes that were listed during these consultations, we already find them in the reports made by FNEC. Okay, so the consultation that was held in Halifax, according to AANDC, 11 chiefs and 38 community members participated in this session. The latter refuted the idea of dividing the chiefs and the other members into two groups. Leaders from the Mi'kmaq, Kina, Matanoe First Nations in Nova Scotia did not attend or participate in this process because it did not follow an already existing agreement with the federal government on how their communities are to be consulted. And this is an important point. One participant asked if the First Nations will participate in the writing of the draft legislation, and the answer was no. And finally, participants left the meeting frustrated, angry, and puzzled. Okay, so on February 8th, in Saskatoon was another consultation. There was extensive media coverage of a demonstration in opposition to the Saskatoon meetings, most particularly in a Saskatoon Star Phoenix article. During the morning session, 25 community members made statements expressing concerns over legislation in general in the consultation process, referencing Band Council resolutions adopted in their respective communities. 23 First Nation chiefs attended the afternoon session, and Minister Duncan reaffirmed the commitment to provide the draft legislation once written to all First Nations for comment and feedback. I would add to this that many First Nations citizens wanted to enter this meeting, but their access was not granted. On March 8, the Vancouver Consultation, there is no information on the number of participants. It is indicated that discussions on the national bill proposed might take place in the same manner as the tripartite Education Framework Agreement. The discussion guide represents a challenge as it does not reflect the work being done in BC, and more importantly, does not provide assurances that the BC system would not be compromised by the new legislation. So always in Vancouver, a participant indicated that while AANDC expresses an interest in listening, First Nations hope they will actually hear. Otherwise, the federal government will face a fight. The lack of understanding of many Canadians was raised as a serious problem, as people who know nothing about us should not be given the opportunity to influence the education of our people. Okay, so for the consultation in Winnipeg that was held on March 12th and 13th, the Grand Chief of the AMC wrote a letter to AANDC Director General stating official opposition to the consultations and the legislation. The AMC acknowledged that some Manitoba chiefs would participate in the meeting due to their extreme circumstances and need to preempt any possible interruptions of ongoing education revenue. 16 Manitoba chiefs attended the meeting, but there are no available First Nations perspectives on what occurred during the meeting. Only the thematic account from AANDC. For the Ontario Thunder Bay Region consultation held on April 11th, according to AANDC report, 6 chiefs representing different parts of the province, and 13 educational technicians joined this session. An event coordinated by the Chiefs of Ontario has drawn a lot of attention and is receiving wide media coverage. Chiefs of Ontario continues to encourage the AFN to take a more prominent role in opposing this federal process. The other session that was held in the Ontario region was in Kenora on April 12th with Treaty 3 communities. According to AANDC report, approximately 14 chiefs and 19 community members attended. During the meeting with the staff, the Grand Council made it clear that they did not want a new set of national level rules imposed on them. Instead, they want the government to negotiate an agreement specifically for them that will comply with the right to education clause in Treaty 3. On April 16th, it was the Alberta region that was consulted. Once again, according to the AANDC report, 11 chiefs and 51 community members attended this session. Minister Valcourt participated via teleconference. The chiefs declared that any work on education must be treaty-based and they do not endorse the online survey. Following statements made by the chiefs, AANDC officials offered to speak and answer questions from chiefs and community members. The chiefs refused this offer and all the participants left the room. Despite offers to continue to meet with education experts and technicians, the chiefs walked out and did not allow further discussion. Okay, so now concerning the recurring themes, we have a few. First of all, the need for appropriate levels of funding, implementation of the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, in particular free, prior, and informed consent regarding any state measures that would impact First Nation rights. Afterwards, there's a recognition and respect for First Nations control of First Nations education that was made by FNEC in 2010. And once again, I will repeat that we find all these themes in our FNEC report. So the 3 other themes would be a treaty-based and nation-to-nation discussion on educational matters, adequate support and recognition of the right to language and culture, and recognition and respect for First Nation diversity and existing education systems. Okay, so this is part of the report on the level of participation, in the consultation that was made by an MP member. So just keep in mind that while I read this quote, that for those who are not aware of what's going on within these consultations, that if they only read this, they would have the idea that everything is going really smoothly and well, which is not the case at all. So here what was written. Our government has held 8 regional consultation sessions across the country and more than 30 video and or teleconference sessions with First Nations chiefs, educators, parents, teachers, elders, students, and other community members. In addition, the department website hosted an online survey and provided opportunities for individuals or organizations to submit comments online. We have received hundreds of responses. During this phase of consultations, we heard about the importance of treaty rights, funding, and language and culture in the development of education legislation. We were given suggestions about the proposed legislative approach. Our government will also continue to have discussions with any First Nation individual, organization, or other stakeholder wishing to receive further information on the proposed legislative approach, unquote. Okay, so in conclusion, there was a lot of opposition to these consultations, a refusal to participate, and also a lot of denouncing of the consultation process. As we will see in the legal opinion, this would be one of the strategies we could use. Furthermore, there is a lack of participation as well as the recurring themes that we find in many reports, including FNEC reports. So this is it for Chapter 3. Thank you.